Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive. This time, we're going deep into the world of uh, building high-impact relationships, or as some call it, power connecting.
Power connecting.
Yeah. And our source material for this deep dive is a book called How to Be a Power Connector. And just to give you a little sneak peek of what we're going to be talking about, we're going to be giving you some really actionable strategies to help you identify valuable connections.
Oh, okay.
Build those relationships authentically.
Right.
And then leverage them for success for everyone involved, not just yourself. And don't worry, this isn't about becoming a social butterfly with 1,000 contacts.
No.
This is all about quality over quantity.
You know, what I find fascinating about this book is that it really reframes how we think about networking in general.
Yeah.
It's not about schmoozing or just collecting business cards. It's more about recognizing that everyone, and this includes you, has unique gifts to offer. And everyone has challenges that they're trying to overcome. And power connecting is about strategically linking people together in a way that creates win-win situations for everyone involved.
You know, I'm always a little bit skeptical of these kind of like secrets to success of books.
Yeah.
But the book starts off with this pretty compelling anecdote. So the author needed a new board member for a tech company and just casually mentioned this need to a friend who was in real estate.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't think those two worlds would really collide, would you?
Probably not. No.
No. But
But
that seemingly random conversation actually led to a connection with someone who'd made $800 million in Silicon Valley.
wow.
So it really highlights the idea that the answer you need
Yeah.
or the connection you need might just be one or two connections away. And this book aims to give you the framework for building those connections strategically.
So it's kind of like that, you know, that whole idea of 6 degrees of separation, but with a purpose.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Instead of hoping for chance encounters, you can actually be really proactive.
Yeah.
The book really emphasizes this idea that you can create your own luck, so to speak, by intentionally building a network of people who can help you and who you can help in return. But, you know, I always get overwhelmed with like, you know, how many connections do I need to cultivate?
Oh, yeah.
It seems very overwhelming
It does feel overwhelming.
to try to be close friends with everyone.
And that's where the 5 plus 50 plus 100 rule comes in.
Okay.
So this is what the book recommends. Basically, it suggests focusing on 3 tiers of relationships.
40 tiers.
First, your top 5.
Top 5.
And these are the people that are really your inner circle, you know,
Got it.
your mentors, your really close friends, those that you really connect with almost daily. Then we have the key 50.
Okay, the key 50.
These are people who are really vital to your success, maybe folks that you connect with on a weekly basis. And then the vital 100.
The vital 100.
And these are links to different, what the book calls ecosystems.
Ecosystems.
So think specific industries, locations, or even areas of interest.
Okay. So like, I mean, Silicon Valley is a tech ecosystem. Wall Street is a financial ecosystem.
Yeah.
I mean, even like my local book club could be considered an ecosystem.
Exactly. That's a perfect example. And identifying and plugging in to these relevant ecosystems,
Yeah.
that's really a key strategy here. It's about strategically connecting with individuals within those spheres, which may be outside your usual social or professional circles.
Right. Okay. I'm starting to see how this all kind of fits together.
Yeah.
But how do we even choose who makes it into these circles?
No.
I mean, should I just be adding everyone I meet?
Well, no, not exactly. You know, remember, it's quality over quantity.
Right.
The book talks about the importance of being selective and cultivating relationships with what the author calls ideal connections.
Ideal connection.
These are people who are authentic,
Okay.
trustworthy, respectful, good listeners,
Mm-hmm.
and are generally interested in adding value to the lives of others.
That's a pretty high bar.
It is.
It makes me wonder, are these qualities that we should also be cultivating in ourselves?
Yes.
I mean, wouldn't we want to be the type of person that others would want to connect with?
That's exactly right. That's the whole point. The more that we embody those traits ourselves,
Right.
the more we will naturally attract the right people into our lives.
But let's be realistic. You're not going to click with everyone.
Oh, absolutely not. No.
That's true.
You know, that's just the nature of human relationships. But thinking about it this way,
Yeah,
it does kind of shift your perspective, I think.
it does. Yeah.
Because instead of dreading those networking events,
Yeah.
you can focus on finding those genuine connections.
Yeah. It's more about connecting with people who you actually like and want to build relationships with.
Right. And it's about approaching each interaction, even if it's brief,
Right.
with a sense of curiosity. You never know what you might learn or
Right.
who you might meet.
Yeah, and even, I mean, the book even has a story about a chance meeting with Gloria Steinem and Gina Davis at a breakfast during Sundance.
Oh, wow.
I know. Gloria Steinem, talk about a power connector. I mean, what was that like?
Well, and it really illustrates the point beautifully because that really unexpected encounter led to a breakthrough for a friend of the author who had invented a contraceptive device.
Oh, wow.
And it had been stuck in development, but through that random Sundance connection,
Wow.
she actually was able to get it in front of the right people.
So even a seemingly casual conversation can unlock doors that we didn't even know existed.
Yes.
It makes me think about all the missed opportunities I might have had by just sticking to my routine.
That's right. That's the spirit.
Yeah.
The book encourages us to step outside of our comfort zones and be open to connecting with people outside of our immediate circles. And this is where the power of weak ties comes into play.
Now, weak ties, that sounds a little bit counterintuitive.
It does.
Wouldn't you want really strong connections to help you succeed?
It might seem that way, but think about it. Weak ties are connections that are kind of outside of your immediate circle. So acquaintances, friends of friends, people you met at a conference once.
Okay.
They're valuable because they offer fresh perspectives and access to information that you wouldn't normally encounter.
So it's kind of like you have a wider lens to see the world through.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it.
Right. But
The book actually cites research showing that the answer you need often comes from the least likely source in your network. Remember, these weak ties connect you to their networks, which could be vastly different from your own.
right. And, that reminds me of a story in the book about Janet Hansen. She went sailing with a college friend and ended up meeting her friend's father.
Oh, yeah.
And that chance encounter, that weak tie,
Right.
led to a job offer at Goldman Sachs, no less.
Wow.
So
So you never know.
you never know where a connection will lead. It makes those random conversations at parties seem a little bit more important.
Yeah, I think so. And, the book really dives into how to make those conversations count, even if they're brief. And it's really about engagement. And I'm not just talking about small talk.
Okay, so how do we take a conversation from, nice to meet you, to a potentially valuable connection?
Right.
Especially if you only have a few minutes
Right.
at a networking event or a conference.
Well, that's where the book gets really practical because it really emphasizes being genuinely curious about the other person.
Okay.
Ask open-ended questions, listen actively, and try to find common ground to build that rapport.
So it's more than just trading business cards and giving your little elevator pitch.
Yeah.
It's about making a genuine human connection.
That's exactly right. And it doesn't have to be complicated.
Okay.
The book suggests focusing on personal interests to build a deeper rapport. And there's even a story about the author meeting a lawyer at an event and remembering that he had recently lost his dog.
Okay, that sounds like a good conversation starter, but I imagine it could also get really awkward really quickly.
It could, yeah. But, months later, the author sent him this really heartwarming YouTube video of a dog and baby.
Okay.
And the lawyer and his wife were so touched by the gesture. So it's about making people feel seen and remembered,
Yeah.
even in small ways.
It's the little things that make the biggest impact, right?
They really do.
Okay. So we're being curious, we're listening, we're finding common ground, and we're making an effort to connect on a personal level.
Right.
What else can we do to turn those encounters into valuable relationships?
Well, that's where the idea of adding value comes in.
I was just going to ask about that.
Yeah.
I've always been a bit confused by that concept.
Yeah.
Does that mean like doing huge favors?
Yeah.
Buying people gifts?
No.
It always feels a little bit inauthentic to me.
Right. It's not about that at all. It's really about finding small, genuine ways to contribute to their lives.
Okay.
And their businesses.
Yep.
It could be sharing a relevant article, making a helpful introduction, or even just offering words of encouragement when they're facing a challenge.
So it's about being helpful and supportive without expecting anything in return.
Exactly.
Okay.
The book shares a story about the author receiving a request for help during the Sundance Film Festival.
Oh, okay.
And a filmmaker that she had never met needed a house to host dinner for 150 people.
150 people. During Sundance. That sounds like a logistical nightmare.
It was a very big ask.
Yeah.
But she managed to connect him with this gorgeous 17,000 square foot property.
Okay, that's incredible.
Talk about going above and beyond.
Talk about going above and beyond. But did it pay off? Or was it just a massive favor?
Well, that single act of generosity led to all kinds of connections in Hollywood.
Oh, wow.
Invitations to very exclusive events and even a book deal.
Wow, so it's really a great example of how adding value can create this ripple effect, often in unexpected ways.
That's right.
So being generous and helpful can actually open doors for ourselves in the long run. That's a much more appealing way to think about networking than just trying to get something from every interaction.
I think so, too. And it aligns with the overall mindset of a successful power connector. They connect for a reason.
Right.
They add value first. They think long term.
Okay.
Then they're masterful linkers. They see the connections that others don't, and they bring people together in a way that really benefits everyone.
I'm starting to get the picture. It's about seeing the potential in every interaction, being generous with our time and knowledge, and focusing on building those authentic relationships rather than just collecting contacts. It's a much more human approach, I think, to networking.
I agree. I think so, too.
Than the traditional kind of like schmoozing and, work in the room.
Yeah.
But before we move on, there was something else that you mentioned earlier that really caught my attention.
Okay.
You said that the book highlights this women power connector advantage.
Yeah.
What is that all about?
That's a fascinating aspect of the book, and we'll dive into it right after we take a quick break.
Okay, sounds good.
Seat stoop.
Stay with us. All right, so before the break, we were talking about this this intriguing concept of the women power connector advantage.
Right.
I have to admit, I'm a little bit skeptical.
Yeah.
Isn't that, playing into stereotypes a little bit?
I understand your skepticism, and the book isn't suggesting that women are somehow magically better at networking.
Okay.
It's more about recognizing the unique strength that women often bring to the table.
Right.
And how those strengths really align with the principles of power connecting.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
So what are these strengths that women bring to the networking table?
Well, the book actually cites research by Catalyst showing that companies with more women in leadership roles actually perform better financially.
Hold on, back up a sec. Companies with more women leaders are more profitable.
Yes.
That's pretty compelling. But what's the connection to networking?
Well, think about the traditional qualities that are often associated with women in leadership. Things like collaboration, empathy, building consensus, fostering supportive relationships.
Right.
These are all often seen as soft skills.
Right.
But they're actually crucial to effective power connecting.
I see where you're going with this.
Yeah.
Building strong relationships is all about empathy, collaboration, and genuinely wanting to help others succeed.
Right.
And those qualities aren't exactly celebrated the traditional kind of cutthroat business world.
Got it.
Right.
Exactly.
So it's less about, what can you do for me, and more about how can we help each other succeed.
Precisely. And that approach creates stronger, more loyal relationships, which when you're talking about power connecting, that's invaluable.
Right. Okay, I'm starting to see the advantage here.
Yeah.
It's not that men can't be great power connectors, but women often have a natural head start because of the way they approach relationships.
Exactly. And the book encourages women to embrace their collaborative nature, their empathy, and their ability to build those supportive networks, which are all essential elements of power connecting.
So ladies, it sounds like we've got a secret weapon.
That's right.
But seriously, this is pretty empowering.
It is.
It reframes those soft skills as valuable assets in the business world.
Absolutely. And it's not just about individual success.
Right.
When women leverage these strengths, it benefits businesses and society as a whole.
That's a win-win for everyone.
It is.
But we can't ignore the elephant in the room, or maybe I should say the algorithm in the room.
Right.
The online world.
Yes.
Can we really build meaningful connections through LinkedIn, Twitter, email? Or is it all just superficial, like likes and follows?
Yeah, you bring up a great point. And the book actually dedicates a whole section to making it work online, acknowledging that these digital platforms are kind of a double-edged sword. On the one hand, they offer these incredible opportunities to connect with people across the globe, share information instantly.
Yeah.
We can build relationships with people we might never have met otherwise.
Right. But like you said, it's a double-edged sword.
It is.
It's so easy to get caught up in the numbers game.
Yeah.
Amassing followers, connections without any real substance.
And the book cautions against falling into that trap.
Right.
The same principles of quality over quantity apply online.
Okay.
It's not about having thousands of followers.
Right.
It's about engaging meaningfully with a smaller group of people who share your interests and your values.
So how do we use platforms like LinkedIn effectively for power connecting? Every time I log on, it seems like it's just people bragging about their accomplishments or trying to sell me something.
I know, it can be frustrating.
It is.
But LinkedIn can be a powerful tool if you use it strategically.
Okay.
The book suggests using it for research, identifying those potential connections within specific ecosystems, and reaching out to people for informational interviews or introductions.
Okay.
It also recommends joining relevant groups and actively participating in discussions to demonstrate your expertise and really add value to the community.
So it's about being a contributor, not just a consumer.
Exactly.
What about Twitter?
Yeah.
It often feels like it's just people arguing about politics or sharing memes.
It's true. Twitter can be a bit of a minefield.
Yeah.
But it can also be a valuable tool for sharing your thoughts and ideas, connecting with thought leaders in your field, and building relationships with people who share your interests.
Mm-hmm.
The key is to be intentional.
Okay.
Focus on adding value to the conversation, building relationships, rather than getting caught up in pointless debates or self-promotion.
So it's about using the platform mindfully and focusing on the connections, not the noise.
Yes.
It seems like the same principles of power connecting that we've been discussing apply online as well.
They do.
Authenticity, adding value, and building genuine relationships.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that these online platforms are just tools.
Right.
They can facilitate connection, but they can't replace the human element of face-to-face interaction.
Yeah, that's something I often forget. I get so caught up in the online world that I neglect those real-world connections.
It's easy to do that in today's digital age.
It is.
But whenever possible, try to move those online connections offline.
Right.
Meet for coffee, attend a conference together, or even just have a phone call.
Right.
Building those real-world connections can really strengthen the foundation of your online relationships.
It's like taking that online interaction to the next level.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it makes total sense. It's easier to build trust and rapport when you can actually see the person you're talking to.
Absolutely.
So we've covered a lot of ground today. The importance of ecosystems, the power of weak ties, the women power connecting advantage, and even how to make online platforms work for us.
We have.
Is there anything else from the book that really stood out to you?
There's one final point that I found particularly insightful, and it's the idea that we should view every new person we meet as a potential valuable connection.
Wow. That's a pretty radical shift in perspective.
It is.
Imagine approaching every interaction with that kind of openness and intentionality.
Right.
It would completely change the way we navigate the world.
I think so.
I mean, I'm so focused on my to-do list half the time that I don't even make eye contact with people at the grocery store.
It's a small shift, but it can have a profound impact.
Right.
It's about recognizing the interconnectedness of everything and everyone.
Yeah.
And seeing the potential for collaboration and mutual benefit in every encounter.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Thank you.
It's about being present and engaged in each interaction, seeing the human being in front of us rather than just another face in the crowd.
Precisely. And the ripple effects of that kind of approach could be incredible.
Yeah.
Think of all the collaborations, the innovations, the friendships that could emerge from that open-minded, intentional approach to connection.
It's almost like we're creating this web of positive energy where everyone is empowered to support and uplift each other.
That's a perfect way to describe it.
Yeah.
It captures the essence of power connecting.
We've talked about a lot of high-level concepts today.
We have.
But I'm wondering, how do we actually put this into practice?
Right.
Where do we start?
Yeah.
I'm picturing myself like hauling my introverted friend to a networking event and forcing them to talk to strangers.
Well, that's not quite what we're advocating for.
Sure.
It's not about pushing anyone outside their comfort zone in a way that feels forced or inauthentic.
Bro.
It's about encouraging people to take small steps and find what works for them.
So no more dragging our friends kicking and screaming to networking events.
Definitely not.
Okay, good.
The key is to start small.
Okay.
Maybe it's striking up a conversation with someone new at a work event or reaching out to a potential mentor on LinkedIn. Or maybe it's just simply making eye contact and smiling at the barista who makes your coffee every morning.
Those small interactions can make a big difference.
They can.
It's about acknowledging the humanity in everyone we encounter.
Exactly. And as we practice these small acts of connection, we build our confidence and we expand our network organically.
Mm-hmm.
The book even emphasizes the importance of being selective about who we connect with.
Yeah.
It's not about quantity, it's about quality.
It's like the author said, You wouldn't invest in a company with a shaky foundation.
Right.
So why would you invest your time and energy in a relationship that doesn't feel right?
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
And it's a good reminder that building a powerful network takes time and effort.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something that happens overnight. It's an ongoing process of cultivating those relationships, adding value, connecting the dots between people.
This has been a really eye-opening deep dive.
It has.
I came in feeling a little bit skeptical. I thought it was just another buzzword for networking.
Right.
But, I'm starting to see it as a much more holistic and human-centered approach.
I'm glad to hear that. And it's not just about collecting business cards or having a huge following on social media. It's about building those authentic relationships that enrich our lives and help us achieve our goals.
And it starts with a simple shift in perspective.
Yes.
Imagining every new person we meet as a potential valuable connection.
It really is. And the ripple effects could be extraordinary.
Right.
Think of all the collaborations, the innovations, the friendships that could emerge from that kind of open-minded, intentional approach to connection.
It's exciting, isn't it?
It is.
Thinking about the possibilities has me feeling energized.
Me too. The world is full of fascinating people with unique gifts and talents. Go out there, make those connections, and watch the magic unfold.
I love that. Well, that about wraps up our deep dive into the world of power connecting. Yeah. So for our listeners who are, ready to really dive into this world of power connecting, what's that first step? Where do we start?
Well, the beauty of it is that the first step can be as simple as just a shift in mindset. Start viewing every interaction as an opportunity for connection. Now, that doesn't mean that you need to, launch into a networking pitch at the grocery store.
Right.
But it does mean being open to the possibility that even the briefest encounter could lead to something meaningful.
I love that. It takes the pressure off of having to, make some big splashy entrance at a networking event.
Right.
It's more about bringing that awareness and that intentionality to our everyday interactions.
Exactly. And for those who are ready to take it a step further, the book offers a wealth of really practical tips.
Okay.
For example, it suggests identifying 3 people that you would really like to connect with.
Okay.
And then brainstorming ways to add value to their lives or businesses.
So it's not just about reaching out and saying hey, let's connect.
Right.
It's about coming to the table with something to offer.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Maybe you share an article that you think would be relevant to their work, or maybe you introduce them to someone in your network who could be helpful to them. These small gestures can go a long way in building those genuine relationships.
It's about being a giver, not a taker.
Yeah.
I think that's a key takeaway from this whole conversation. Power connecting is about building mutually beneficial relationships.
Right.
Where everyone feels supported and empowered.
I couldn't agree more. And remember, building a strong network takes time and effort. It's not a one-time event.
Yeah.
It's an ongoing process of cultivating those relationships, adding value, connecting the dots between people.
So true. It's like gardening.
It is.
You have to plant the seeds, nurture them, and be patient.
Right.
But the rewards can be truly amazing.
And speaking of rewards, this deep dive has been incredibly rewarding for me.
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed unpacking these concepts with you and exploring this whole idea, the power of human connection.
Me too.
Yeah.
This book has really shifted my perspective on networking. It's not about schmoozing or collecting business cards. It's about building authentic relationships that enrich our lives and help us achieve our goals.
Well said. And for our listeners who are eager to delve even deeper into this topic, we highly recommend checking out How to Be a Power Connector.
Yes.
It's packed with really practical advice, inspiring anecdotes, and actionable strategies that can help you take your networking to the next level.
And remember, the most important step is just to start.
Yes.
Take a chance, reach out to someone new, and see where that connection leads. You never know what amazing opportunities might be waiting just around the corner.
The world is full of fascinating people with unique gifts and talents.
Yeah.
Go out there, make those connections, and watch the magic unfold.
That's a perfect note to end on.
It is.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of power connecting.
Yes, thank you.
We'll see you next time for another insightful exploration of a fascinating topic. Until then, keep learning, keep growing, and keep connecting.